here we are, season 7, last year of Buffy, and then next month we've got the last year of Angel, but that's its own thing. We'll do that in time. But every month I make a note of episodes that I want to cover, and even with that I sometimes forget some, because I'm human. But this one, I was noting almost all of the episodes. It's kind of a bit annoying in a way, because I was like, I really want to talk about that at least in brief, if not, for the overview. I think the overview is going to have about 6 again, but it's an end of season special. I'm going to allow it. But it was such a hard thing to try and narrow down the list. Like I say, it is most of the episodes I've noted down, and there are a couple of arcs. There's one that's just a couple of episodes, and really the end from Dirty Girls onwards is kind of an arc of its own. But right from the start, we've had a tone set by the production, which is, we've come full circle. This is the same, but different. This is what we've learned over the last 7 years. If we were doing Buffy again, although there is a reboot coming and some people are quite lukewarm about it, I'm just going to wait to see what happens. But, this is very much this is what we could do if we'd have started from scratch. We're back at high school, but it's also knowing that they've got that history under their belt and making reference to that and giving us a satisfying closure. That's basically the idea for this season. How do we end this run? Saying, right, there we go. This is the tale of Sunnydale and really the Hellmouth's last protector. That's such a great way to think of it. And I know we've had the season 8, etc., comics and things like that, and like I say, there is a reboot coming. We've had Angel, which didn't end with such a closure, but that kind of worked for it as well. But this was such a great sort of season. It's a love letter to Buffy from Buffy, and of course that love letter is also to the fans. It's a thank you. Here are some highlights of what you've loved over the past few years, done through a different lens, done different enough, but still honouring the originals. But that isn't to say it was just silly and self-referential. From the start, we have had the tone of, this is Sunnydale High rebuilt over a Hellmouth, possibly evil principal, or maybe Eton, but luckily neither of those is the case. Slightly not great behaviour from him later on in the season. He gets blinded by vengeance, like a lot of flawed characters do, but overall, decent guy. It's a refreshing change for this, for basically any noted person in academia, because of course Maggie Walsh was not ideal either. But like I say, it still had heavy moments. The whole sort of return of Spike kind of is a heavy thing on its own. Now he's playing Sold, and kind of crazy Sold at the beginning at least. All throughout until he gets deprogrammed. That's when it really kind of stops that, and he can just get on with trying to help save the world. But I think one of the darkest episodes that still had an interesting message and an idea behind it was Help. It's definitely something I want to cover next time as well. But it's a great performance from Azura Sky, who's one of those faces that I can just look at. It's a very interesting face to see. It's not traditionally attractive. It's not like the classic Hollywood beauty, if you will. But, like I say, it does draw the eye, really. And like I say, she's great. Not only in this, but her returning conversations with dead people as well, which again is something I want to cover in the highlight reel. But, we do sort of get the point where we realise that Spike's become a sort of sleeper agent, as the title of one of the episodes says. And I will cover those two as well, where we discover that somehow he's going out and killing, even though apparently he isn't sold. And this leads us to the idea that something's in there and something's sort of programmed to trigger him. And we get, obviously, the incorporation of Andrew and, his whole situation of having killed Jonathan to open the seal under the school, which, we get a lot of character development for some of these side characters, which is great. He was one of the bad guys from last year. He didn't need to come back, and certainly didn't need to have his character expanded upon and sort of give us a different angle of what people will do to just survive because they don't know any better. This was very much a year of showing the fragility of Andrew's psyche. His lack of identity, the fact he gets the coat and goes, oh look, I'm like Spike now. It's always, I am like this person, or I want to be this person. He's never really comfortable in himself for much of his appearance until towards the end of this year. And that's something that I've struggled with. I don't know if it's because of my issues that I've had and everything like that, but I was always like, I want to be part of that group. I want to be that person. Part of my, dare I say, obsession with Buffy was part of that. It was trying to find a new identity. And I'm glad I did. But this is all stuff that I've dealt with, and whilst I haven't killed a friend to open a seal under a school and, let demons loose, or super vampires, or uber vampires, should I say, at the end of the day, that's not the bit that I'm identifying with, and I think we're all glad for that. But Storyteller was a great one again, which I do want to cover in the highlight reel, because he just has this kind of way that he deals with things just slapped down. It's like, stop avoiding your problems. Whilst I've said before in many different videos on this channel how, sci-fi, fantasy and to a degree horror are great at showing us ways of dealing with actual problems we have in life, we've still got to tackle those problems head on. We can't just always use fantasy. It might get us through the moment, but we then have to unpack it and deal with it. And that's part of Andrew's growing up, But we go through and we have the whole sort of lies my parents told me thing, which again, highlight reel. And of course, the whole deprogramming of Spike that happens through that, which, it's weird. Principal Wood was trying to get him to get angry so he'd justify killing him, but in fact he helped cure him. And that's brilliant. And it was such a great episode. I believe that is one of the highest rated episodes of the season on IMDb at the moment. So I think that really says all. But like I say, we then have, the emptying of Sunnydale. Finally, the rats flee this sinking ship. Everyone suddenly gets the message that this might be the big one. They've never done it before. People have stayed around in all sorts of troubled times. But this is the one where they're like, no, there's something more here. And of course we have all the potentials that roll in. And you'll notice either next week or in a few weeks' time that I do Bioshock Infinite, because one of the potentials is the voice of Elizabeth. So even though there's a massive gap between Bioshock 1 and 2 and this, there was a bit of a gap between those, there was a reason, because I wanted to incorporate it with this, because like I say, I suddenly realised it's the voice actress. I need to do that at the same time as Buffy Season 7, so I've sat on that for months, and I can finally get it out there, so I'm really quite happy with that. It's a weird thing to be so overjoyed with. But there's so much to love in this season, and, it ends with a closure, but with the whole, well, what do we do now? We've saved the world. Well, there is a Hellmouth in Cleveland. No. I just want to chill. And we have the callback to the ending of Welcome to the Hellmouth. It's just like, we could go to the mall, I need some shoes, and it's like, we're all doomed kind of thing again, and I love the fact that it does bookend itself so nicely. This has been 7 years of, experience. Obviously, because if by the time this is up, you've probably seen the update video of moving and things, so the fact that doesn't have the picture of Alison anymore, but that says how much I put, how much I enjoyed this series, what it meant to me. It's been a big part of my life. Like I've said in previous videos, there's been parts of my life where I've been able to quote episodes almost verbatim, and it has formed a part of my identity and how I see the world, for the silliness and the weirdness and some of the missteps. It's still tried to teach people that the world can be a scary place, but it doesn't have to be the worst thing in the world. You can still get through it. And I can't say fairer than that. This year had the silly, it had the sensible in equal measure, like I've said before. And that has been mission statement since year one, really. Try and marry the two. Some years have been darker than others. I'm looking at you, season 6. But, for the most part, it has tried to balance it out. And this year, it was a perfect balance. It was an equal measure. Even when it was heavy, there was still a light somewhere around the corner. But I'm going to leave the plaudits for the highlight reel, because this isn't really signing off. I need to sign off, really, on Buffy in that video. So I do want to join me for that as we end the Buffy part of this overview. And like I say, next month we'll say goodbye to Angel, and then I've got 2020 to do with as I wish. So thank you very much for watching, as always, and until next time, take care.